All right, so today we got a question, which is how do I raise prices without losing clients? So I'm Aaron, this is Tom. Between us, we've run a number of agencies. So we've managed hundreds of employees and worked with, I don't even know how many clients. We usually get paid to answer questions like this, but we don't really enjoy hopping on client calls all that much. So here we are. So Tom, how do I raise my prices without losing any clients?
There's a couple ways of doing it. The first one's flexible pricing. So I've implemented this myself. Like it's based on the outcome that the client will get, right? So let's say you're doing marketing and you're doing marketing for a company doing less than 10K per month. That could be one price. One going from 10 to 50K, different price, 50 to 100 or above. And sometimes they'll be like, well, why is the price so different? We're making, 50K, but it's the same kind of work that you're doing for everyone else. I'm like, well, let's think about this. How many people do you have on the call right now that I got to speak to? And how many calls have we done? Because with that below 10K client, there's only one person to talk to, and it's usually very minimal. I don't need to explain to you, your team, and make sure everyone's got this, and then sometimes answer so that's that part of it, right? Plus, you're going to get a bigger outcome. So, I typically don't like raising prices for old clients. I would just rather get rid of them, if that's the case.
It's always easier.
I just been in the game too long. I'm like jaded, and I just want to deal with nonsense. Some people will, or they'll like grandfather them in forever. Like I see. This was funny. Like there was an agency that just sold recently. Like one of my buddies bought it. Actually, it was two friends, one selling to another. And he's like, man, the numbers look too good to be true. He paid like $1 million for it. He's like, a lot of these people were like grandfathered in at prices that were lower than the profit margins, but just to massage the numbers, the revenue numbers. So once he got rid of all of those, he said like the valuation already went down by half. But okay. Anyway, like I don't like grandfathering, but the other thing is like a lot of it is down to positioning. And I mean, I've done this recently. I have taken the same offer, took just the main component of it, which is like the most important piece, right? So now this offer, I make more money. It's being sold at the same price. I do 80% less work and everything is pretty much the same. And all the stuff that just took a lot of hassle and management and nonsense on the side, I just switched it up. And sometimes the clients will be like, well, can you do the other stuff too? I'm like, absolutely not. Because you can get that done by AI or some idiot outsourcer on Fiverr. What I'm doing is the part that they can't do and you can't do, right? So
and that's the value.
That's the value. So sometimes it's just like extracting the value and repositioning your offer too, and the clients will appreciate that.
So I think what you said about positioning there is really important. And I think a lot of agency owners misunderstand this because we've all heard about value-based pricing, all right? And what Tom said at the beginning about, an agency that does 10K, an agency does 50K, an agency does 100K, you charge, or client rather, that does its revenue numbers, you charge them differently because it's value-based pricing, right? And every agency owner is like, oh, I want to charge value-based pricing. So let me flip it for you and go from the perspective of a business owner who has hired agencies and what I think about value-based pricing. What you are basically saying to me is that you are an unofficial stakeholder or shareholder in my business, that when I make more money, you make more money. Why on earth would I give you more money? Why do I, as the business, I'm doing all the work, you are basically doing the same work, right? Maybe a couple more calls, a couple more contact touch points and stuff, but why should I pay you more money? So value-based pricing, in my opinion, it's great in theory, but it really only works if the value you actually deliver is exponentially high or perceived as exponentially high. And that's the positioning piece that Tom talked about, right? Thing that they cannot get anywhere else. If they can get it from you, client will happily pay value-based pricing. But if they can get it easily from someone else, there's always going to be tension.
Yeah, I agree. And you have to think, right? Like it doesn't work for you can't be a podcast editing company that really gets this. I mean, it's so difficult to give someone that.
I will have a counter that, Tom, because I have had a client that I consulted for who is a podcast editing company, and they absolutely do this and they kill it.
Yeah, tell me how. Tell me how. I mean, I would
It's just
think it's difficult.
different client. Smaller client, sub 10K a month client, they charge a standard fee. But say they work for a Fortune 500 size company, they will charge 10 to 20 times more, and that company will happily pay it. Just different positioning.
I mean, I would see if it's like a completely different segment, because like you can't go to an enterprise company and say like, oh, I'll charge $1,000 for this, because they can't even put this in their like purchasing.
They'll just laugh at you.
Yeah.
They're like, ha, 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 okay. What's the real price?
Yeah. So for that, I would agree. Yeah. But most of the agencies like that I've seen, they don't hit segments that different. They would work with like enterprise or small. They usually don't flip between those two. And what they try to do is tell similar types of clients in the same segment that just, they're different. They differ a little bit. Why they should pay more, which is insane. Like with marketing, it's a lot easier because like, okay, if you're making 100K and my offer gets you 12% more per month, that's what, 100 something K, and then if the same thing happens to someone below 10K, it's like your numbers suck. That's why you'll never hit that. Even if I do 50% increase, like you're still going to be less than that, So it's like a little easier with the marketing part, but I get it. If you change segments, often, just changing segments, you just price differently. So yeah, maybe change segments, high level, right? If you can't get better clients, change segments, and maybe the lowest clients in that segment are better than the ones you have now.
Get new clients. It's also a lot easier than trying to switch old clients to higher pricing.
Yeah, that I don't like. Okay, that's enough for now. Subscribe. See you next time.